Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life, the podcast. This is Life Coach Myrna Young, and you're listening to Author's Corner, where we showcase local authors. Today, I'm speaking to Julia Cooper, who is the daughter of author John Norman Cooper. John Norman Cooper is the author of the book, The Extraordinary Life of Nathan Scrzimshaw. So, welcome, Julia.
The Recycling of Nathan Scrzimshaw.
All right, sorry. Yes, the Recycling of Nathan Scrzimshaw. Right. All right. Awesome. All right. Welcome, Julia. Yes, I know that you would make your father proud. All right, guys. So let me give you a brief synopsis of the book. Introducing a fictional read on time traveling and displacement syndrome. The supernatural is the natural not yet understood. And that's a quote from Albert Hubbard. So step into the world where reality blurs with supernatural and the transmigration of souls become an extraordinary journey into the recycling of Nathan Scrzimshaw. This enthralling two-part saga explores the extraordinary life of Nathan Scrzimshaw, a man whose existence is marked by unexplained powers and a condition known as Draco syndrome. Read The Recycling of Nathan Scrzimshaw if you are, 1, looking for an intellectual challenge, 2, seeking to challenge your perspective on reality, and 3, itching for an engaging and immersive experience. So get ready to dive into a mind-blowing adventure that will leave you questioning your understanding of human consciousness and unexplained powers that lie within. Pick up your copy today and experience the mystique that lingers long after you turn the final pages. All right. So yes, Julia, you're showing a copy of the books. Now it's your turn to show them. They weren't seeing it just now.
Oh, I really would love to show you the book. I mean, this is the first edition, and it has the paintings of my sister, my younger sister, who just died from brain cancer. And I'd like to just, tell you a little bit about how I got to know about the recycling of Nathan Scrzimshaw. My sister, who's younger than me, died of brain cancer early this year, to the shock of everybody. And I think it devastated my parents, So when my other brother went down to visit them in South Africa, out of the blue, my father in his 80s turned around and said, well, actually, I've written this book. And I don't know what to do with it. And I think I rather have the feeling that possibly through my sister's passing, that he, was able to come out and say, well, actually, I've got something for you guys, if anybody's interested. And it was really that. Otherwise, the whole thing would have just stayed in a cupboard and never been heard of again, And
my brother. How long ago did he write the book? Do you know how long ago did he write the book and just shelved it?
I think he may have started in 2008 to 2016. I think he finished in 2010, and then after that it was editing and stuff like that.
That's still a long time. Yeah.
It is. I mean, I'm not actually sure, of the particulars, but I think in that age, that sort of time period, So it was that kind of emotional kick that kind of pushed it, onto my brother. And then my brother said, well, I got no time for this. What about Julia? So I
love it. Yeah, what about Julia? All right. So tell us.
The point is, Myrna, is her paintings. That is her painting. Oh. She was a painter. And that is, and it really fits with the story as well. That's the amazing part, although my sister didn't know about the book either, it's just weird, It's
yeah. She knows about it now in heaven.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. All right, so now that you've gauged their excitement, so tell us, roughly speaking, what is the recycling of Nathan Scrzimshaw about?
Well, Nathan Scrzimshaw himself is an adolescent. He's a teenager boy with extraordinary qualities, with extraordinary powers, right? And he's not even really aware of it. But the first book kicks off with the idea that people are suddenly very interested in him, and they're coming from other parts of the world to see him. And in this case, it was about a celebrity TV quiz master or something with his wife, and they unexpectedly come from South Africa to London to find this boy. Okay, and they're using pretext to say that it's got nothing, to explain why they're in London, but in actual fact, it's because they know about Nathan's powers, and they want to benefit from them. Right now, what his powers are is that he has this groin that shines. Okay, if you think about I'm sure my father didn't think of this, but in the yoga system, you have the different chakras.
Yes.
Throat one, you got the heart one, you got the root chakra, right? So you could imagine Nathan's root chakra is shining, and he's painfully aware of it, and he's like thinking, what is going on? But the girls get interested, right? And the women, and the older women, this is the weird thing, and he is still very much a schoolboy, just does his football practice, goes to church, goes to school, normal things. And it's all on these rides to church, and on the way to the football practice, and on the way to coming out of school, that he comes across all these interested people, and then things start happening. Okay, so basically the idea is this Nathan Scrzimshaw is afflicted, or maybe, it depends how you look at it, afflicted or blessed with what's known as the Draco syndrome or Draco syndrome, and meaning that he's got all these extraordinary powers. Basically, any contact with him means that aging women who want to have that kind of makeover with their contact with him, and it's possibly sexual or not, just touching will actually reduce, that will just wind back the clock 10, 20, 30 years, right?
You're kidding me.
And
wow.
For the unattractive adolescent girls who want to look like Barbie, it winds it forward, so they suddenly become these absolute beauties, right? So of course they're all
what an amazing gift. Wow.
And it's not just that, it's he's able to play with time. So there's this aspect of, he goes, when he gets involved with these women, and you might think, oh, this sounds like this sounds like Shades of Grey, but it really is not, because when it gets to the point, then he sort of blacks out, and he has no memory of what happens, and nor does his partner. So you get all this sort of all this sort of getting into
activity
it,
going,
and then
right,
there's this kind of whiteout. I wouldn't say blackout, a whiteout, because
whiteout.
He doesn't know what happens, right? But the effects of it become immediately apparent to the women involved, and to their husbands and their boyfriends and the brothers, and then start, then the sort of the whole mystery, the intrigue starts really ratcheting up, right? And it's like, what's going on here? And Nathan, intriguingly enough, hasn't a clue. He doesn't know what the hell is going on,
Wow.
And so it goes from, the next, the neighbors across the road, and the girls, to the cousin of, who's got this incurable disease, which then is miraculously cured by this syndrome that he's got. And then it starts explaining why the mother is an alcoholic and doesn't seem to ever succumb to liver disease or anything like that, because she also has a syndrome and stuff like that. So it sounds very simplistic, but what is really interesting about the way it's explored in the novel is the quandary Nathan's always in. He's got a problem with his identity. Who is he? What is this that what? It's almost like a form of possession, but where is it coming from? Is it coming from his inner world, or is it coming from his outer world? And in the prologue, you have my, the author, my father, describing in quite a scientific tone. He is, after all, a biochemist. He is a scientist. Okay. What this Draco syndrome is. And I would say that's the most difficult part of the book, actually. It's like the gatekeeper of the book, right? If you can get through the prologue, then the rest is plain sailing. But you got to get through the prologue first, right? Which explains what that is about, right? So yeah, it goes in depth about that. The intriguing part is the time dimension. It's not time travel in the sense of we're going back 300 years and we're in, you know, or 1,000 years down to Stonehenge or anything. What's happening is, if you think about it, a timeline is normally chronological, right? We're going from the from our present, the past is gone, and then we're moving towards the right, and then it's moving into the future. Well, what's happening with him when he gets into these groin incidents, it seems like as he's going along that horizontal passage of time that we all go through, when he hits those experiences, it seems that he hits a vertical. So then he goes off and he's able to get a bird's eye view of what other people are thinking.
Oh.
You know, so it might go into the past, it might go into the future, but then it might in real time, it's lasted maybe a second. So he's actually not gone anywhere. So in that sense, it's like time travel. But the thing that really bothers him about the whole thing, or upsets him, is the fact that he has got no control over it either. It's almost like the thing that overtakes him has a mind of its own, and then decides to go and give a bird's eye view of what's happening with the other people. For example, the church pastor or the minister, right? Or what the father's thinking, or the cousin or whatever, or the neighbor down the road, sort of thing, and it's really interesting because then you get all the different inputs of all these different people and what their thought processes are, and it acts almost like a social commentary on how these people are behaving to each other. And remember, it's based in London in the 1950s, in that context to begin with, right? So it sort of showcases all of that. And if you can imagine, what they had at that time, TV was just coming into being. You had the music of those times, the 1950s rock music and so on. It's a different flavor. And for me, with the cast of characters he's brought to the book, it would make a great movie. It really would.
Well, I mean, listen, I admire people that can go deep inside and create fictional characters and create something that will be entertaining. Yeah, you go to the movies to see that, but most of the movies are made from books, right? Because someone has got an incredible ability and imagination. So, you've read the book and you're speaking for your dad. Why do you think that he thought that this story needed to be told now? What is the benefit to humanity of a boy that can help people to realize whatever their dreams are? You're right, whether they want to become Barbies or they want to get younger. I'm thinking that that's basically what this drone syndrome, or this what you call it, right? Draco. Yeah, Draco syndrome is doing. So why did your dad want to write that?
Well, he explains it. Actually, there's a message. I think I I don't know if I sent it on, but basically he, from a very young age, he explains that he's always been prone to dreams as a young boy. And it wasn't just your daydreams. It was like a portal to the subconscious, the unconscious, right? And he said these dreams were absolutely terrifying. And the thing that hit him about it, he said he remembers being a schoolboy and seeing his, he's going off to play with his friends. He's walking down the road and he sees his shadow cast on the road with this, that the sun casts on there. And then he becomes aware that this shadow is infinitely more powerful than he is, and he's actually nothing. So then you get this business of identity, growing into an identity. Who am I? So this is really the fundamental question about this, this Draco syndrome, who am I? And as we know, for so many of us, particularly the younger generations, the adolescents, the teenagers, this idea of who am I is, where am I from? What do I represent? What makes me me? And where did that come from? All of that is stemming from those dreams he had. He said he's been painfully aware of that as a child. He said this kind of got less and less as he grew older, but he said one of, because it's in a way slightly autobiographical as well, the journey to Australia, becoming a jackaroo and everything. But he describes in this message that he wrote that he was at this railway station and he had no money, and somebody lent him £1 and he lost it. And then he had an argument with his friend, and the friend disappeared, and he ended up in the railway station. And then suddenly he was back in this dream world again. It was almost like his inner world exploded on his reality. And and basically he said he was absolutely terrified. And then it went from terror to ecstasy, and nothing to do with drugs, by the way, just a very, something that just burst,
going internal. Yeah, right.
Totally internal.
Yeah.
And then he came out of that, and he thought, this is the real world. That world, we're kind of puppets in this existence. I mean, that's the kind of, I suppose, the indirect message there. We're kind of puppets. We're kind of playing out something, but really the real reality is something that is more than human understanding can grasp, right?
Right.
So anyway, this experience disappeared, and he was standing there in the railway station, and that was the end of that. And then he sort of, I guess he must have relaxed, because then he walked out of the station, checked his trouser pockets again, found his £1 note, and was able to continue, And
right.
I think, we get caught up in all this stuff about, women growing up, but also the men have the boys to manhood have a big problem with that as well. And this idea of, consciousness, Draco syndrome being, you're able to relocate your consciousness to somebody else. So basically what happens to those people with the Draco syndrome, they get the characters that are, talked about, or that he describes, and the situations that arise from it. Some of them have really sudden deaths, okay, but they don't actually die. They die, yeah, their bodies die, but they relocate in other people's bodies, right? And then the real quandary in the second half, the second book, basically Nathan wakes up after he's been basically murdered, in the first book, in the body of a young teenager going out to Australia called Wake Jones. And he wakes up in the top bunk bed of the boat in this other person's body, but he wakes up as Nathan. He doesn't wake up as Wake Jones. And then, of course, the question arises, who is Wake Jones and what am I doing in his body?
Wow. I was just about to ask you why the title Recycling, and you answer it. So that's basically what that is. Okay.
It's recycled.
Wow,
and you know what? The other thing which I find so relevant about it is, it's very much in at the moment, this idea of recycling on all levels, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to, recycle plastic, paper, and all the rest of it, because if we don't, we'll just ruin the planet, right? And this idea of recycling oneself, we have this idea that death is the end. It's just built into us, it's programmed into us, and all the rest of it. But if you look at the huge body of NDE experiences that come out now, and they're saying something else, right? They're saying, hey, hang on. That's
no, I subscribe to the fact that the body dies, but the spirit always lives. So yeah, the soul, the spirit lives on, and it is recycled, reincarnated, whatever you want to call it. But I think the world is now very conscious that, only the body dies. So this is an excellent book to showcase that. That's beautiful. It sounds like it's very interesting.
Yeah. I think the message there is nothing's ever lost. We think it is, but it isn't, right? So, in the second book, there's, a couple of, characters get, die for unexplained reasons, or explained reasons actually, but under mysterious circumstances and all the rest of it. Plane crashes somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, some people die, and then the handwriting emerges of the person who supposedly died in the book, or in the notes of the person who's still living, and they recognize the handwriting, say, where did this come from? And then, of course, that kind of, it becomes like a psychic thriller, right? A psychological sort of teaser, and it's like,
very
hang on,
interesting. Right. You're right. Someone might pick it up as a movie. It sounds really good.
Yeah. I think it would do, what? I think it would do brilliantly as a movie, because my father, right? He really lived this book, right? Because when the question was asked, how did you invent those characters? How did you invent the context? And he said, but I didn't. I'm just telling it how it came to me.
How he dreamt it.
Right.
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
Because for him, Nathan Scrimshaw is very real. And all
Yes.
the characters. So to
Right.
him, it's like he's describing something that he's vividly seeing. He's not, saying, well, let's make up the next bit and the next bit and the next bit. He's not doing that at all. He's actually kind of
It's
downloading the whole
downloaded.
thing,
Yeah. Well,
and where
yeah.
his
Yeah.
authorship skills come in.
When you connect it to the, the source,
Yeah.
universe or
Yeah.
whatever, it
Yeah.
brings you, it downloads these things to you. That's good. Yes.
He said in his terms, he would say he's a amanuensis, which basically means he's a downloader. He's a channeler.
Downloader. Yeah. Yeah. It actually
You know?
happens. It actually happens. When I wrote my book, it was downloaded to me too. But so I understand. I would go for a run and I would come back. And while I was running, it was downloading. So I
Yeah,
know
he was,
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
And a lot of
yeah,
the good
exactly.
authors, that's what they do. They just sit down and it flows, right?
That's right.
Yes, it just
Absolutely.
flows. And you don't have any writer's block because it's been downloaded.
It's
So
coming. Yeah.
that's amazing. Yeah. All
Yes.
right.
That's exactly how it's working. And the authorship sense of it, like you're saying that you download, but your skill or his skill would be in molding it into a shape that's presentable to the world, right? The dialogue, the descriptive stuff, the
Right.
the accent, the point of view, and all the rest of it, that's coming through him, right? And your book would be doing
And
exactly
then
the
you get
same
an
through
editor
you.
and then fixes it
Yeah,
up.
you're the instrument. You're the instrument. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
well, Julia, you've done a very good job of getting people interested in your dad's book. And, I'm interested too, because I love a good story. And especially a story that can be, you know, paralleled to the human experience, which is what makes
oh
any
yeah,
any story, riveting, is because
yeah.
you can see it being, it's not that you're living in Mars or something. It's when you're going to talk science, it's something that you can understand. So yeah, so very good. So there's two books. Tell our audience, are both books are available right now, correct?
Right.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So tell the listeners where they can pick up a copy of the book. If you have a social media account that you talk about the book or do anything with that, so that they can go ahead and read this incredible story.
Right. Okay. So there is a website and it's transnovel.com. So that's TRONS for the recycling of Nathan Scrimshaw. That's short for it. Yeah, Trons, TRONS.
Okay.
Novel.com. Okay.
Okay.
So, and to the contact page, you can go there and, either write there and come to me and I'll forward that on. Also, you can buy the book there, or you can go straight to Amazon.
Okay.
And get it there, the recycling, because it will come up in the Kindle, the paperback version, the hardback
Right.
version.
Yeah,
So,
I've I always check the books out before I do the interview. So yeah, I know they're there. Right.
yeah.
So that's amazing. Awesome. All right. Well, listen, Julia, this was a great, passionate.
Yeah.
I like speaking to people that I can feel their passion, because it's good to come across to people that are listening. You're excited about the book. You're excited about, the story and the relevance of it. And I love, I love the concept. It is an excellent concept. Now, one final
Yeah.
question: is this Draco syndrome something made up, or is that real?
It's made up as far as I know.
It's made
Well,
up.
you know what? If you ask my father, he would say it's real, right? But as far as I know, well, listen, you can argue it this way and that way. Diseases or illnesses or disturbances or invasions of the mind are described in so many ways by so many different cultures. You can't nail it, right? But from his perspective, it's the Draco syndrome and so on. I think, to do him credit, I mean, I actually would enjoy the book even if he wasn't my father. If I'd picked up this book, I would have said, hey, this is really, really interesting. Yeah, it's a great story. He's written it beautifully. He's got, he really knows how to write. And the descriptive passages, it's dialogue. And I'm thinking, how do you get somebody excited about something like this, But it is compulsive reading. It really, really is. But it does demand some, it does demand that the reader know words, right? You know how you get books these days and you think they wrote that with 10 words from the beginning to the end. And he's using, you know, it's a kind of an educated
It's beautiful.
tone in it, and there's words that,
It's
you know, people
beautiful.
might, and in British English as well. So
Okay.
it may not be everybody's cup of tea, but certainly for those who are interested in that kind of thing and who are interested in that kind of writing, oh yeah, it's a great ride. Yeah, definitely.
I love that. I love that. A great ride. Yes. Listen, I'm a book connoisseur. So I love books. So yes, and I love reading and love stories and I get transported into them. So I can understand and I can think that I would be transported into the story. I love
You
it.
will be. I
Yeah.
assure you, you will be. You know what? He goes from sort of rainy Essex, you know, North London in the 1950s. Okay, it's all in the 1950s. And then he moves to the cruiser ships, SS Tarantula, from all the way from London to Cape Town to Australia. All right. So you get a sense of that, and docking at, you know, Cape Town and Durban. And then he comes into, I think it's Adelaide or Melbourne, or either both of them, right? And then he's got these descriptive passages about, so you almost feel like you're going on a journey as well,
On a
right?
journey,
You really
right?
are. So it's like a bit of the travel element in that as well. So yeah, I mean,
Good job. Good job. Good job. All right. So, yes. So listen, that's amazing. You know, I love Author's Corner where we get to showcase our authors, you know, and I've expanded the, you know, from nonfiction books to fiction because fiction a lot of times, like I said, parallels life and you can gain a lot of knowledge and understanding of this human experience through fiction. So Julia, thank you so much for coming on the show and doing such a great job of you know, generating interest for your dad's book. Like I said, I even want to go read it because I love the I love stories. So guys, listen, go and pick up a copy of John Norman Cooper's book. Yes, books actually. It's part 1
part
and part
one.
2. And the book is called The Recycling of Nathan Scrzimshaw. Now,
Perfect.
I will have a transcript of my conversation with Julia on the show page. And I know the Scrimshaw is probably a word that you can't spell. So just head over to the show page, blog.myhopes.us, and you'll see the link there. And so that you can definitely either pick it up on Amazon or go directly to John's website and get a copy of it there. So
Perfect.
thank you, Julia, for coming on the show. Thank you
You so much,
guys for
Myrna.
tuning in. And I do want you to support my local authors when I'm showcasing them and they're coming on the show and talking to you about your books, their books. So definitely go support them, pick up a copy of the book, and leave a review when you're done. When you're done reading.
Would love
All
that.
right.
Love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, listen, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of Author's Corner. If you're listening to this on iTunes, we'd love for you to leave a review and hit the subscribe button. And if you're watching on YouTube, do the same thing. You know, please subscribe to the channel so we can reach a greater audience. All right. Thanks again. And until next time, namaste.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Julia.
Thank you. Thank you, Myrna. Take care.
You're welcome.
Bye.